Hello, and welcome everyone. We are here with our second series of the evening. We are very excited because, as we assume, there is now one last broadcast on the A stream and one last broadcast here on the B stream for the finishing, the finale, the ending of of the NECC 2022 Spring Split LOL season. I'm very excited to bring it to you here today. My name is Orbital. With me is the best caster to ever run away from the Rift. It is Random Minion Caster. RMC, how you feeling, and are you ready for the series?
Run away, Orbital. I slew my way out of the Rift there. All those champions went down to me. And I am hyped for this matchup, Orbital, because we're in Emergence Navy for the grand finals between two of the most dominant teams. First seed Butler Gray coming up against second seed Augustana College here. And Orbital, the top two seeds out of their regular season, both of them got to get a bye in the quarterfinals. In the semifinals, they 2-0'd, and they're back for the big rematch in the grand finals.
Of course, and I think that goes very far along. But of course, we'll get into the teams a little bit more in the future. As of course, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're looking at right now. I believe Butler Gray is on the red side with Augustana College on the blue. Butler Gray did opt to take red side. That was their choice, and so we are going to take a look and see how well that plays in. At the start here, as you can see, we already have had a pick ban phase go on before. That is why they are picking in order. The bans are the same, but the Volibear was, of course, a blind pick. Kled picked up very last round, and you can see the Sejuani, the Evelyn, the Rise, and the Corki, all flavors and favorites of these players.
Yeah, a lot of comfort picks coming through for both of these teams. And interestingly enough, actually both teams picked their mid laners, the Rise and the Corki, fairly early on. Neckington picking it on R2, Tonito picking it on blue 2. So the Rise actually being picked into the Corki, which is interesting because generally speaking, Corki outranges the Rise and matches scaling with the Rise here. So definitely a choice here by Augustana's Tonito.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting, and I'm very excited to see how these drafts play out. You can see, of course, that there have been some heavy support bans by the side of Butler, and there's a very big reason for that. There is a very big reason for that. As you can see, the Ezreal on one side, but Augustasi went ahead and grabbed the Lucian that was actually in B3 in the original draft, so that was why we saw the multiple support bans, and then the Taric and Karma, both of these very nicely played in the bot lane. However, the Ezreal Karma lane is going to be such a huge power point for Butler.
Yeah, so I think, Orbital, before we go right into the depths of all the intricacies of these compositions that the team have drafted here, we kind of need to talk about the players a little bit because it does inform a lot of these picks coming through. Let's start with Butler Gray on the red side because they are here. They've got Claude in that top lane, Levi, their captain in the jungle, Neckington in the mid lane, Carthago as their AD carry, and then Opax as their support here. And this is probably the strongest iteration of their entire team. Last season, they ran with a much smaller roster and they didn't have this flexibility. Now, coming to this season, after making it to playoffs last round, they had a bigger roster, so they're able to swap people around. And with the way their roster tends to work, Neckington is an incredibly mechanically skilled player. Claude and Levi seem to have a lot of synergy going up in that top jungle, especially when Claude is on champions like Kled, which can apply all that pressure. And the bot side, Carthago and Opax are just an absolute beast of a lane here. The two of them often winning out. And Carthago, even without any jungle intervention, often can carry games by himself.
And that's terrifying to think about. To have a team with so many different points of attack and so many different ways to engage diversifies their playbook, right? It diversifies what they can do exactly. And you saw it in the draft itself. You can see where they were leaning towards. But let's go ahead and take a look at their opponents because there have been some shifts since the last time these two teams have played. Augustana College going to be fielding Ekadar, St. Young, Tonito, Agasazi, and SWR. Most importantly, talking about this squad is the fact that we heard about it a little bit. This team specifically did not play their full roster due to some outside issues when they first match up back in their original regular season play.
Yeah, in the regular season, when these two teams match up, Augustana did not have both St. Young as well as SWR. And that's doubly important because their team captain is SWR, the lone senior on this team who, after this year, will be transitioning to a coach role. So big strategic voice missing. And St. Young is their in-game shot caller who also wasn't there. So definitely wasn't at their full strength last time these two teams met up. Not only that, but even within the series itself, they had to swap substitutes. They were running, I believe it was Abdeen and Golden Boy the first time round, and then they ended up running Golden Boy and I believe it was Tornado who managed to step back in for that game 2 there. So a lot of changes the last time, and it's not a good indicator. So coming into the finals here, not only do they want to win it all, because of course every team wants to win it all, but Augustana also looking to redeem themselves for what could be seen as an unfair performance the last time when they didn't have full roster.
And that's what we're really going to question there, right? This new roster coming out here, and with that, a little bit of a different composition to line up, because you saw it there in the draft phase, and we got a little taste of it. So let's kind of start going over it. We already mentioned the bot lane. This Karma, this Ezreal is going to be a little bit of a menace, and there's a very big reason for that. It's because of the Lucian Tark, and specifically how we assume they interact between themselves and against this heavy poke lane.
Yeah, so I think Augustana, they got a lot of strong power picks. They got the picks that make them happy, something they've practiced. They got the Rise with the Realm Warp. They got the Taric, something that they pulled out in the semi-finals here against, I believe it was Harper Hawks JV. A new pick, something that gives them the ability to choose their engages. They got the Lucian, a very strong lane pickup here that can dominate lanes here. So Butler, I think they responded very, very well. They picked something like the Karma Ezreal on the bot lane to nullify the early control that Lucian can put down. You outrange the Lucian. Your poke can't be out-sustained by that Taric very easily. And later on as well, Karma's shield is going to be massive to engage or disengage, not so much for the shield, but more the movement speed buff it gives you to run away, when that Sejuani starts charging into your team. And then the Corki Ezreal pickups, I really did like seeing that. We touched on the fact that Corki matches the skilling of that Rise and actually outranges the Rise for the most part later on in the game. Ezreal does the exact same thing to that Lucian as well here. So Butler, feeling like they're looking a little bit more towards that mid-late game, and they've got the tools to survive early as well.
And that's terrifying. So for the side of Augustana, I mean, we're taking a look at the Volibear, the Sejuani, and the Rise. Those three we know are going to have to be those power points. If you had to lean between the top and mid, because we know that's where things have to get rolling, right? We understand that that's their game plan. Which side, with the compositions at hand, do you think are going to be those breakaways, that 1 or 2 star battery that will lead Augustana to that game 1 victory?
Well, when we look at Augustana, I mean, we touched on the fact that Butler's bot lane's impressive, but so is Augustana. So I would like to see St. Young look to that bot side, get Augustasia hit here on that Lucian, which we said was so strong. But for now, Levi actually walking point blank into Sejuani.
Oof. And you don't enjoy that one too much, especially as an Evelyn. You're just kind of like, that's not fun. And keep in mind that we won't see the cloaking Evelyn until level 6. That'll be the time that we got to see that, that invisible action happen, and the very annoying thing that just about every League of Legends player hates playing against, but kind of loves whenever it's on their side of the field.
Yeah, and the thing is, unfortunately, this interrupts actually. SWR not allowed to recall. SWR is going to be late to lane, so Carthago and Opax here are going to get the ability to bully out this bot lane, get control over this Lucian who's going to be 1v2. But going back to your point about the Evelyn here, Orbital. Evelyn, post 6, very dangerous. And usually you're looking at sort of that 2-item power spike where she can absolutely melt squishier champions for side of... yeah, it's just the Lucian actually. The Rise will get tankier here. I was thinking about it. Like, who are you actually going after as the Evelyn? It's kind of the Lucian here. Yeah, so that's usually that big power spike you're looking for. And normally you want to punish the Evelyn early, but Sejuani is not one of those junglers who can go in and duel you out. Unfortunately, St. Young is going to need to skill up and gank too. So Levi's Evelyn pick here really going to get by unpunished.
And that feels so good. And with both junglers also starting on opposite sides of the rift, that leans into a little bit of what they're expecting. Of course, Levi's saying, hey, we don't expect bot lane to have any issues, so let's go ahead, go to the top side where there may be a bit more scrapping between Kled and Volibear. And then for St. Young, as you were saying, trying to take a look at that bot side potentially with that full clear, going to hit most likely level 3 and take a chance at going at Carthago and Opax. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, that's another minute or so out top lane, though. Ekadar and Claude going ahead, walloping on each other here. Dismounting the Kled already. So the duels are going to come in fast and heavy.
That's actually really good play from Ekadar there with the comm saying that, hey, Saint's
Oh.
offside. Let's go for this.
Yeah, that is something that I was not expecting. So St. Young going to make a surprise appearance, but the flash is already down. Now you're going to try and chance it back. One more auto attack should do it. No, you auto attack St. Young. You are able to pick it up thanks to the minions. But that was dicey and a half. A nice rotate by St. Young. Make sure it's a 1-for-1. But Claude was still able to take that first blood.
So really good idea from Augustana, but better execution, unfortunately, coming in through for Butler here.
All right, let's keep that to a low end because he did auto attack that says Sejuani instead of the Volibear. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, but Claude was going to die no matter what happened there, right? The fact that Claude still managed to pick up first blood when he got ganked, that's better execution here. I'm not asking for perfect execution, Orbital. I'm asking for better, and Claude did deliver that. Now it's also giving the opportunity now for Levi and Neckington to invade because they knew Saint was topside.
And they cleared out, and now they're going to try and chance it. Oh, no! St. Young, you have flash to get over the wall, thankfully. But it's the right call, and now that you know where the Sejuani is, Claude's coming in for some 1v1 revenge. Says, where's your buddy now? Ekadar, no HP to work with here as the top lane is reset.
I really feel like people who play like the alt's name is Charge. You know exactly what sort of champion you're playing here. And so if a player plays that sort of champion, you can't give them any leads because that's all they're going to do is all-in you constantly here. And Claude, not only did Claude get the early first blood here, Claude TP'd right back into lane. So got the experience lead. That's a level advantage we're seeing in that top side. And that's what's enabling Claude to go aggressive. Now, Ekadar, you still have TP. You might actually now have to burn it fairly early on or risk getting go.
And that's going to be so painful. So Ekadar so far not wanting to lose too much. Levi, though, realizes someone's in the bush thanks to a miss spike. And that's going to be a little bit of good luck because you can see St. Young and Tonito really wanted to punish that Evelyn.
Yeah, that was the return favor there for the invade from Levi and Neckington. But they are not the same bot side.
Oh.
Augustasi, holy.
So we expected this lane to go this way. We did not expect it to be this lopsided, I think, right? Like, this is fairly far outside of what we were expecting, and now we're going to get a chance to possibly fire back, but Opax and Carthago just dancing on the frame, and so Augustasi is going to have to recall here with only 24 CS. Now we get a chance at the top side, and Claude says, hey, listen, you ain't got your Sejuani, I get a solo kill.
Even if you got your Sejuani, you can't stick around under turret that low. That was why I was saying Ekadar might look to have to recall early. Now, SW are in a really rough situation. Again, we want to talk a little bit about the spot side because we did expect it to go this way with the poke that an Ezreal and Karma can put down. But you're right, we weren't expecting them to get kills this early here. And look at that CS differential as well. That's only going to get worse as Ezreal starts to pick up items like that Sheen that we're seeing come through. Because usually before the Sheen, Ezreal kind of struggles a little bit with mana and with damage here, especially into something like Illusion, but now you've got that. Augustasi is sitting on 2 long swords. You can't even really win an all-in trade, much less the poke war.
Painful thoughts for Augustana. The Vikings are going to have to do a little bit of damage control right now and try and get things under control. Once again, the problem with that is, of course, the global objectives are not playing in their favor. First Dragon going to be the Hex Tech, one that teams do enjoy to pick up early and try and clear off the board very quickly. You can see a little bit of a dance around as Tonito now roaming in just to protect their own jungler.
Yeah, trying to cover St. Young here. And for the side of Augustana, what they're kind of waiting for right now is that level 6 power spike when they start unlocking their ultimates. Because they actually have a very strong all-in wombo combo at that level 6, especially with that current ultimate there on top side.
This is going to be another challenge, and Ekadar I don't think has the ultimate up and ready. It looks like it is, so we'll have to keep eyes on that one. But still, Claude now in full control of this top side. A 20 CS difference is starting to gap between these two teams, and that means that the singular lane that St. Young had gained before is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Levi, trying to dance out, is actually met with a bit of resistance with St. Young off on the lead.
Levi's fine. You can't kill Levi there, unfortunately. Not with Carthago and Opax there in lane, able to help out. They're just trying to get control over this dragon, actually. And Hextech, you mentioned it a little bit. What Hextech Dragon gives you, especially when it's just the dragon, not the soul, is increased attack speed and shorter cooldowns. And when I'm looking here at Butler's team with Corki and Ezreal, they're going to enjoy both sides of it, both the attack speed as AD carries who auto-attack a lot, and as poke champions who would like that cooldown reduction. So it's worrying to give it over to them. And unfortunately for Augustana, they don't have a choice. St. Young still not level 6 and on the top side of the map.
It's a rough give up, and the next one's going to be Infernal as well. So if this game continues on the same path, it will be Butler Grey enjoying some heavy buffs to their offensive power, with not much else given in the other direction, right? We're taking a look at the gold lead here. It's 13.6 to 10.9 in favor of Butler Grey, and that's been building across every single lane here. Instead of the jungle where both are sitting at 0-0-0 at about the same level camps, it's been all about that CS game. All three lanes up on their opponents. 20 CS, 25 CS. That is ridiculous to think about here, and we're going to start seeing that gold kind of sling into those team fights a little bit more.
If Orbital, nothing changes.
Yes,
but Augustana are looking to change it, and this was that level 6 we were waiting for, right? St. Young now 6. They're forcing that Herald here, and Levi is 6, but Evelyn's not as strong in team fight.
They are going to take that chance, and now they're going to fade it out. It is going to be a challenge. Ekadar is going to get run down, and now the fight breaks out. Levi is going to try and ult and flash straight into that realm warp. Well fought from Augustana as they collapse on that Rift Herald take.
And I want to highlight that the Glacial Prison missed. And that's actually the big team fight tool I was looking for. They didn't even need that to win it because Butler opted into a 2v3 situation. They didn't have full vision of what was happening there. And unfortunately, Claude is tacky when you've got Skarl. But notice that Claude went in when Skarl was almost dead. So you got one auto and then got dismounted. Didn't have enough time to remount, and Levi doesn't have enough damage. We talked about 2 item power spikes for Evelyn. And because of that, they end up losing 2. But they did not lose Herald. I think that's the most important thing here. Butler are still okay.
They understand that they might have messed up a little bit, and that's a tough pill to swallow. But it'll be okay. And as you said, didn't lose a Rift Herald means that no extra gold is going to be going right back in. And Claude goes, well, I just made up for those 2 deaths that we saw earlier. Got 3 plates on the top side. And if Levi decides to go back for that Rift Herald, is going to be like, yeah, that's an easy first tower. So keep an eye on that one. Down on the bot side, Carthago and Opax still pushing away like no one's business.
And when we're looking at these lineups here, we did note that the bot lane often tends to be the carry. Carthago, we've mentioned before, often able to 1v5 there. So it's not shocking that we're seeing these sort of number leads come up when you get that sort of counterpick bot lane as well. The scary part is going to be when they start actually completing their mythics and actually start leaving the lane. They've not applied pressure outside of lane just yet here. And Augustana should be glad about that. They need to start influencing something else here. I don't think the bot lane is going to work out quite anymore. Augustasi and SW are a little bit too far behind, so maybe continue to cap that mid top side.
Oh, that was a huge chunk in the last queue. Carthago makes it look easy because, good lord, I've seen gold games, and I can't do that stuff at all. Very, very nice pick by Carthago to get that kill on the bot side. I'm terrible at League. That's all it is. That's all that point was made.
Hey man, I was just gonna celebrate the success of Carthago and Opax down there. And it's not all Carthago. I was actually gonna point out. Opax right now are just those mantra cues from Karma. They feel like they don't feel like skill shots right now. They feel like point and clicks because you just keep landing them, and the poke from that's actually hitting almost as hard, if not harder, then the Ezreal pokes here, and now that Carthago has picked up first item, it's not going to be Mythic first. We are seeing that Essence Reaver rush potentially into Mirror Mana and then maybe into Leandris later. For Carthago here, that's only going to go worse, and you can leave them alone. You can't start ganking other lanes. Levi, we didn't see that.
All right, you know, going for the tower is great and all. Yeah, nothing happened. Top lane, it was the show of strength. That's what we'll say, because they did get first tower at 12 minutes and didn't even use the Rift Herald, meaning they can apply it down to the bot lane that is currently sitting with 3 plays. They can apply it to mid lane and get Neckington a little bit further ahead. So many opportunities have now been afforded in the next minute and a half that Butler Gray have given themselves. This is going to be a challenge, though, in this mid lane. Nice little stun to draw the package out early. Neckington is going to have to try and fly away again. The second Valkyrie is going to be made as Neckington is able to get out of harm's way. True Shot Barrage crashing over the entirety of the squad, and that is going to lead to a second kill for Carthago. The chase is on, though. Levi with no ult is just going to try and get the stun down. That is going to be the kill. Tornado, you weren't stunned up, but you were cut down. Realm Warp could not get that rise out.
I can't believe Neckington didn't die there. St. Young with the initial knockup and holding that Glacial Prison. I thought that was, as you know, that was a guaranteed kill, but somehow Neckington didn't even blow flash. Got out alive. Herald gets dropped mid. They find mid lane turret, and they get Dragon as well. It's just everything going their way. You're talking about dropping a bot here, Orbital. They don't need to. They can just brute force bot instead.
Easily could. However, Neckington this time around in round 2 is not going to win. It'll be traded on the bot lane, granted to Levi's side, and SWR gets rooted and pulled in. The chase under the tower should follow. Claude is going to take the harsh way out. Opax the harsher way indeed. Now the exhaust going down as though Nito with the Unleashed Spellbook says, hey, give me something back. 5-7 is the score, but the gold is spelling such a different story. Claude is now going to dance under the tower even further. Looks like the Thunderlord is going to cause some more problems. Tonito doesn't want the fight to end. Flash over the wall, and the charm lands. Body block to make sure none of the bullets land. None of the right spells work. And that is a very, very rough Zhonya's to play into. The stopwatch is gone, and it did nothing but delay the inevitable. A long, drawn-out bout grants so much golden experience to the side of Butler Gray.
And they're still trying to zone out Augustasi and SWR here. And you don't want that. The Kled's almost fully remounted. This is not safe for them to go onto. Butler, I think, are hitting the point where they're playing a little bit fast and loose. And they're getting away with it because they're so far ahead. A 7,000 goal lead at 14 minutes is insane.
That is ridiculous to think about. Neckington still trying to duke it out and might not win this one. That'll be the chain CC with the ulti. St. Young is able to bring one back, but that is one of the weaker members of the squad right now. Now comes the tower dive. Brilliance is going to come in. Can they kill one? No, they can't. So the ulti is able to be made. The Radiance from SWR keeps Augustasi and SWR alive, but the poke can still do a lot of damage. Still, very nice hold by the Vikings.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, this constant aggression. We can't get a word in without another battle breaking out. Levi is now being goated, as that'll be the follow-through double kill for the GOAT in the bot side with the 3rd tower to fall.
Support, by the way, Opax over there. Not a single damage item either. Just that strong with base damages. And look at what Augustin are able to find elsewhere. Nothing. Unfortunately, it's not that they're not trying, but you've got a Sejuani, you've got a Rise. Neither of them are great at turret taking. You didn't pick the Rise to push your lane. You picked it for the map control. And now Levi on the hunt again.
This is what happens when you lose all of your outers. The jungle becomes a death room. Tonito being able to get away just barely. Thanks to a little bit of a catch, Levi didn't want to chase and instead gains control of the camps.
And I hate to say this for Augustana, but this is looking like a, potentially GG go next angle at this point here, because Butler are not giving them any way back in. They already have the better siege with the Ezreal, with the Corki here. They've got the better pull. And look at what they're doing on this push. Look at the vision control they have, although every bit of the jungle belongs to Butler here. Even those objectives, you see Neckington taking away the red. You're seeing them cut off the blue buff here. And for Augustana to come back in right now, they need to find picks. They need to find flanks, but they can't do that if Butler always sees them coming.
It's It's rough. It is a rough attempt to come back in a game, especially with a composition like this, right? You were saying it before, with the siege, with the ability to clear out the wards. I mean, they just got control of top side, but the bot side is not so good. Opax is now going to dance it, but Carthago has been found out, so they're just going to try and chase the ADC. A little bit of a Gale Force and a flash over the wall means Carthago is going to die, but the collapse coming in on the backside means Claude is going to try and get some revenge. It's a 1v3 for the time being. Levi's going to roam in. Thunderlord comes down to slow him down, but Levi with the haste spikes takes their life. Over the wall, Necking is going to fire off those rockets, but it's going to be Opax to sacrifice once again. Look at the backline, though. They are destroyed. They are dead. They are sent packing to the gray screen. St. Young going, maybe I don't want this anymore. One more charge should get him out of the bear trap. No! Gets pulled in now, dances over to the opponents. It is Butler Gray taking the fight in monumental fashion.
And that started off with Augustana running down Carthago there. That should have been a 4v5, but they end up trading 4 for 2 there. Definitely not ideal, and that's just off the gold lead. It's so unfortunate. I do like the idea of their composition, right? We've got the Realm Warp, we've got the Glacial Prison, we've got Cosmic Radiance, all really strong team fighting tools. But all of them want you to be the initiator here. Realm Warp used defensively isn't great. Cosmic Radiance takes 2.5 seconds, so it's hard to use it reactively here. And when Butler are just constantly forcing fights non-stop, there's just not good time for Augustana to set up. Even now, 18 minutes. It feels like we should be looking at Baron when it's a 10k gold lead here. Baron hasn't spawned yet. Butler took Herald instead because that was the only thing there. And now they're falling back for Soul Point.
Ooh, Opax trying to get a little bit of information, a little bit of wardage down, and seems to have given a little bit more. Again, Opax, maybe not the one with the bounty, but that package cut everyone off. Again, the brilliance is not going to be enough for the time being. It is going to hold off, and they can't get enough damage down, though. It's delayed again. It's delaying over and over again, and this time, it will be the wash. They sacrifice their support, but Butler Gray take the ace.
I mean, Opax right there is the definition of bait. Butler went fishing with the Karma, and sure, you lost the bait there, but you pulled up a massive fish. Clean ace with Herald. This should be the inhibitor turret falling, maybe even the inhibitor. And normally, Orbital, dropping an inhib before 20 minutes isn't ideal, but when you're this far ahead, you do that, and then you go immediately for that Baron, which should be spawning in just shy of a minute.
I am just amazed about the fact that this is twice now that Butler Gray have actually fought through a Cosmic Radiance. Normally a Cosmic Radiance is assigned to disengage, right? Butler Gray have actively fought through a 2.5 second invulnerability on the side of Vikings, and they come out ahead. If you did not understand how big the gold difference is between these two teams, how big the experience difference is, that's your indication. That is your pure indication of what's going on in this game.
Yeah, and to put it into context as well, that's an ultimate from Taric. Claude didn't even get dismounted during that 5-second duration because it's 2.5 seconds of invincibility from Cosmic Radiance, 2.5 seconds for it to even proc in the first place. Claude sat there for 5 seconds, didn't get dismounted. A passive versus an ultimate here. And it's only going to get worse. Claude's only getting tanked here. You know, Black Cleaver completed here. The Chain Vest being picked up as well. And the magic damage from Tornado. Well, Tornado hasn't even completed the Seraph's Embrace yet. So it's mostly physical, and it's mostly not able to cut through Scar.
Honestly, Butler Gray are putting on a show for us here right now, and with how we're talking, they deserve it. This is going to be the 3rd battle that we see in the jungle so far. So maybe about 4th as they try and take a challenge. That's going to be the charge being brought in. Over the wall you go as Claude says, hey, you can't stop the Kled. A charge over means it grants kills on both of the carries, and it should unleash the pain into the base. Inhibitor is going to go down. Butler Gray watches a bear is stopped in their tracks. It's in the base. It's going to be backline. Levi almost going down to the stun, but they're safe. Last embrace means one last chance to be in the picture as the Nexus will explode at just shy and just over 21 minutes.
I want to say that's the fastest one we've had here on the stream tonight. It feels like a lot of the games last series were stretching to 30 minutes or over Orbital, but this one, they weren't messing around. And coming into this, when we spoke to Augustana a little bit, they were saying that, yeah, what you saw the rest of the regular season, that wasn't really us, right? We didn't have our full roster on, but this time, even with a full roster, Butler's saying, hey, we don't care who you field. We're just that good. But it's only the first game of a best of 5 here, Orbital. So there's still plenty of time for Augustana to come back in. And I think part of it was the draft that they picked. Their draft didn't have a lot of answers if they fell behind early. It felt like a comfort draft, right? They got everything they wanted, but Butler just had all the answers here. So going into game 2, Augustana, I believe, will get side selection, and Butler chose Rid. I would like to see Augustana go for that Rid side a little bit and have a more responsive draft to what we see Butler drafting here.
I would hope the same. We'll see what game 2 brings us here. Let's go to a very, very short break. Make sure the teams are set and you at home are set as well. Please go get a little bit of water, a little bit of snacks, and we'll be back in just about 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. We are ready to go for game number 2, and my gosh, was there a lot to digest there. It was very quick, but it was like a hurricane. It was like a tornado that blew through here on the Rift, and my gosh, Butler Gray made it look like a clinic. So surgical, so clean. They finished at 21 minutes.
For sure, bro. They had momentum on their side. Now the question is, can they keep it up? Because I'm sure Augustana is not just going to sit back and let this happen to them again. And going into game 2, I'm glad, they followed some of my advice. They went on red side here, so they will be able to have counter pick. I don't think blue side is that advantageous this series. Neither team really has such a big overlap that there are picks that they absolutely must take as B1.
I'm absolutely.
And that's a big challenge, right? That's what we're kind of looking at, and I am very, very curious to see what the changes will be here. If there will be some massive kind of overarching, sweeping changes to their draft here. And eyes are on it so far. We can see the bans have been kept relatively the same so far. And I mean, there are quite a few that you don't want to see. I know we were talking about it in the intermission time about what you don't want to see, right?
Yeah, I'm a little puzzled by this Vladimir ban. Perhaps the teams are aware of something that I'm not, because I don't really know who this Vladimir is targeted at. Neither Claude nor Neckington particularly play this champion in solo queue, and they haven't played it here in the NECC, and yet we're still seeing it on the ban list. The big question is, what else are they going to ban here? Because, okay, Corky, I was thinking, honestly, Kled was the big issue last game. Butler Claude, the man's name is basically Kled at this point, right? One letter off, and he dominated his game. And hello, okay, Kled did get banned as well. I do like that. And Picks coming through, a huge change in that top lane and in the jungle as well for Levi.
Yeah, this is going to go pretty quick as we have now gotten information that these teams are moving at breakneck pace. So let's kind of go through what's going on here. We see the Mundo and the Urgot in the top side. Those were picked at position 2 for each squad. So the Mundo was a counter pick to the Urgot. The Fiddlesticks, though, is what surprised us the most, as it was blind pick into Augustana, and they still chose to go that Sejuani.
Yeah, so generally Fiddlesticks isn't in a particularly strong position right now. The reason why we see teams pick Fiddlestick, one, for vision control with the passive with the effigies that you put everywhere there. There's some psychological play because it looks like Fiddlesticks will behave a little bit like him as well when you first spot him. And of course, for the notorious Fiddlesticks surprise party ultimate, Crow Storm, the ability to hop over walls, do a ton of AoE damage. And Fiddlesticks traditionally does best against teams which are short range, because now you have to sit in the middle of that Crow Storm or completely disengage. So seeing, you know, the Sejuani, the Vayne being picked after does concern me a little bit. Both of them are very short range, and the bulk of Augustana has to eat that Crow Storm. The only one who's going to be comfortably out of range for that is Tonito on that Xerath.
And the Xerath is going to have a rough time in lane. Xerath was the counter pick to the Jace. However, Jace is still known as a front-end bully. Anyone that's played against Jace understands this. Anyone that plays Jace understands this. And I'm very interested to see how they play it out. So far, compositionally, Butler have drafted themselves fairly strong lanes once again. The Jinx Karma we saw wreck face. It was so good when they played the Ezreal Karma this time around. The Jinx is even scarier in terms of the mid to late game carry potential.
Yeah, and once again, it just feels like Butler have responded very well in draft. Internally, there's not a lot of cohesion necessarily in this draft. It's not like they've got inherent synergies. Ideally, Fiddlesticks wants AoE lockdown. There's none on this team whatsoever. Augustana, on the other hand, they've got, you know, some of that AoE lockdown. They've got some team fight going for them here. But again, a little bit of dyssynergy. Like Vayne wants to go in, Xerath wants to go out here. But I think those are comfortable picks, and I think their lanes are a little bit better. It's not quite as rough. Yes, Urgot Mundo can be rough, but Urgot can outplay. You just need to dodge a lot of those cleavers. And Vayne actually was a champion that we saw pros start picking up to play into the Jinx a little bit there, where if you can get the Vayne into range of that Jinx with that tumble, with that final hour there, you can win the all-in. But if you don't, then the poke from the Jinx will outrange you. So a little bit more even in the lanes, though I think Butler still, I like what they have a little bit more here. Mundo gonna outskill that Urgot, not gonna die quite as easily. We touched on the Fiddlesticks range already. Jinx Karma, once again, the range advantage can be kind of nasty, though Nautilus can equalize that to a certain extent. And even the Jace Xerath lane, Jace isn't at that big a disadvantage. Usually you pick the Xerath to not interact with the enemy laner too much. You're trying to poke them down with range, farm up, and you abuse that range. But Jace's range can also match poke a little bit here. So yeah, much more even for both these teams.
And it feels good, and it's going to come down to execution at the end of the day, right? And we have to point that out. That is something that I want to see personally Augustana come up and be able to play into. Because again, we are seeing one major thing kept the same, which is that Sejuani in that jungle. And we want to talk about Saint Young, I think, because Saint Young did show a little bit of fight at the beginning, did try and challenge on him, brought the first gank out in the top side. So we know Saint Young can be aggressive in the right scenarios. But now we need him to be able to step up a bit more, I think. And taking a look at these compositions now, what lanes do we still see them go for? Because last time it was towards that top side.
Yeah, sure. Let's start with Augustana and Saint Young a little bit here, because I agree with you. I think Saint Young didn't do poorly. He's just not having the same level of impact he normally does, because he normally plays things like, you know, J4, Poppy, Volibear, Lee Sin, all more early game oriented junglers or early game ganking junglers. Sejuani can't quite do that. But I think you're still looking potentially to the bot lane here to get things really snowballing. Sure, you can go top, you know, go ahead, help Ekadar find a lead. Nothing wrong with that. But the ultimate focus has to be that bot side with this Vayne, because if Vayne pops off, Vayne carries games way harder than an Urgot ever can. So Augustana looked on bot. For Butler, on the other hand, personally, I'm not a big fan of Fiddlesticks. He doesn't have those strong early ganks for the most part. You need your lanes to win out. And so instead of saying that I want to see Levi play for a lane, I almost feel it's kind of the other way around, where I want Levi to be opportunistic and see which lanes gives you an opportunity. Let the lanes play to you and let the lanes set up the ganks here. And Looking at the lane matchups, I suspect we're mostly going to see it into the mid lane here because Jace Xerath is a highly volatile lane. And if they go below half health, they can easily burst each other down. So I want to see Levi spend a little bit more time just covering that mid lane, and because I suspect there'll be the most opportunities there as well.
Yep, that is one that I'm very, very curious about. However, you might not like the Fiddlesticks. It did play almost the same role as the Evelyn last time. Both are AP. Both like to do a little bit of a stealth attack and like to be annoying once level 6 hits. But I gotta agree, the Fiddlesticks is something that we do have to watch for, see how it kind of plays out here in the early game. And granted, Butler Gray have a fantastic, a heavy, a pressure-bound early game. Can't wait to see if they can pull it off again and see where they get their leads. So, of course, we will be getting underway here shortly. We are just ensuring that the game is going to run properly. Everyone knows that League of Legends is also somewhat League of Bugs. When we try and spectate, we want to give you the best viewing service possible here because this is a best of 5. Keep that in mind. Augustana, even if they lose this one, have one more chance to turn it around.
Now, of course, Augustana doesn't want to lose this one. Or
No.
even if you have a chance, an extra chance, you don't necessarily want to use it here. So I'm looking at Augustana to have a much stronger early game. Because last game, yeah, the comp was a little bit difficult to execute, but they just fell behind in their lanes fairly early on. And I don't want to see that happen this time. Even if you have to sack one lane to help the other two survive, I think for Augustana, it's better than having all 3 losing lanes. So we'll see where they end up going. For now, they're looking for the invade here, and Butler has no clue.
I mean, Butler understood that with a Nautilus in play, there's a high chance of an invade. The thing is that the Vikings actually took a different route. At least from my knowledge, normally it's a 50-50, of course, but invading through the bot side, I think, has been a high norm for a lot of teams. It's interesting to watch St. Young and the rest of the squad choose to go top side. They do not find anyone, but they get a good ward down. Levi is going to be spotted as they do try and do that double camp off of Blue Buff.
Well, they haven't spotted Levi just yet here, though they will now see Claude. And Orbital, you're right. Generally, we see bot side invades more often than top side invades because of what you're attempting to achieve. If you are sticking around to actually take the buff here, you want to invade bot side because that way your bot laners can assist you and you get to take that buff a little bit quicker. If you go for that top side, your bot laners have to ditch early to get to their lane on time there, hence why we often see bot side invades more. And even on this top side invade, sure, Augustana gets in there undetected, but they don't actually take it. They just drop ward for vision because they didn't want to pull up their bot side.
That's what they do want to see. Augustasio, though, sitting, just kind of sat inside of the AoE. So Opex flashing that emote saying, hey, thank you for giving me the extra damage tick. I do appreciate you. Thank you for supporting your supports.
Oh man, and speaking of supports, I mean, Opex has done amazingly well on this Karma. Again, right into lane, Mantra Q to kick things off, and the Vayne gets poked down. We saw it last game as well, and with Taric, at least you had slightly better sustain in lane. This time, SWR has 0 sustain to help out Augustasi, and that's why we're seeing this pressure coming down from Carthago from Opex very, very early on.
And I like it, right? This is something that Opex, whenever you see an engaged champion, sometimes you do shy away from it, right? You say, hey, I don't want to get in range of the hook. I don't want to be in danger. But to fearlessly step up and to say, hey, we are going to try and throw that poke. We are going to try and put you on the back end. I really, really enjoy that level of confidence in your own play. Mid lane, we're starting to see Neckington try and push forward and try and get a little bit aggressive. And he's going to jump in, get some good damage down. But the damage back inside of the minion wave means Neckington actually loses that on the fight.
Yeah, but watch the mana as well. Topside. Oh, if Claude had flashed it, I think we could have seen first blood. But once again, Ekadar isn't safe. Has to base on this.
That hurts quite a bit. And since the lane is actually pushing back in favor, is going to try and sit under the tower a little bit more, trying to use that Doran shield as much as possible. I think with 200 HP, you're okay from getting hard dove, but that poke is going to do so much more. Along that fat, St. Young and Tonito actually did a slight invade into bottom side jungle. Noticed that red buff was gone and got information that Levi was most likely on the Krugs at that time.
Yeah, I think Saint and Tonito there, they got a right idea knowing where it started, but...
Very nice pinch. Textbook Vayne and Nautilus play.
Yep, and that is why you pick Nautilus into these enchanters here. We were praising Opex for getting that early aggression on, but you gotta be careful you don't get hit in exchange now. that invade from Tonito and St. Young there. The idea was good because they knew where Levy started, but I think they're perhaps not familiar with the timings for that Fiddlesticks there, so they weren't aware that Levi hadn't actually finished clearing off the Krugs. They could have killed the Fiddlesticks if they knew he was there. Unfortunately, wasn't able to find it. Levi gets out scot-free here, and despite the first blood in that bot side from Augustana, it's still pretty even, all things said and done here.
I think that benefits Butler Gray a little bit more than the side of Augustana, but we now see Levi getting chased out of the enemy jungle, went for a little bit of a Krog steal, and St. Young was able to battle it out. Still gives about a camp and a half over to the Fiddlesticks, now level 4, hoping to hit level 6 very quickly. Tonito now bullied under the tower as Neckington Jr. feels much better in that stance. Tonito gonna have to recall most likely here in a bit, teleport back and try and sustain the win.
Ooh, Claude has to be careful here. Hasn't actually put the ward down, so would not spot St. Young, but St. backing off there, not confident in their ability to do the damage. And look at, once again, the CS differential is in orbital. 10 plus CS differential in almost every lane. Bot just crept back up as Augustasi is picking up some CS here. But yeah, that's not ideal for Augustana. We said before, last game they struggled right off the bat, and we wanted to see a stronger early game performance from them. The skilling from the Vayne is great, but you're still outranged by the Jinx here. And Tonito, in that mid lane, particularly getting bullied up by CS, had to TP back into lane, was matched immediately.
The worst feeling as well is the fact that you are trying to take a challenge. We are going to swing down to the bot side though and keep eyes, because this is Carthago granted a kill by Opex. The chase a little bit further in is going to get some good damage down, but St. Young is going to try their best to bully it out. A little bit of stun now, right at the arcane going in. Neckington going to try and stay safe, and is going to use that gate to perfect execution.
Great answer back from Tonito there. It felt like every time we looked mid, it was Neckington winning out a lot of these trades, but right there is their kill potential! Great snipe from Tonito to be able to secure that, and hey, much better performance here. You can make up for CS with kills here.
It worked perfectly. Opex running a bit further in favor, and that's because they're hoping to not see the Nautilus. It'll be a challenge back though. As Opex runs away, says, hey, I might have overstepped my bounds. Huge wave. Challenge for, and that means Carthago actually has to eat that. They do have a flash, though, stun under the tower. This is a hard chase, and I'm not sure they actually wanted that. That's going to be a flash into Carthago getting the kill. Now it's going to be Levi. Sustain! The buff to Fiddlesticks makes it save you, and Levi soaks up 3. What a turnaround there in the bot lane. Butler Gray take a kill.
I did not think Fiddlesticks healed that much. Yeah, he got a buff, but I thought it was more often, you know, the minions and the melees and the monsters than actual champion heals. But
that was in the middle of like 7 minions. What you talking about?
True. You're right. You're right. It was sad in the middle of a whole bunch of minions, a whole bunch of champions there. Levi almost came out with full health after that. And the nice part for the side of Butler was that Tonito, unfortunately, because he roamed down there, missed even more waves. Neckington is not just up CS right now, he's up experience here and plates.
And that's kind of the way that you deal with these roaming mid laners, right? One way is to follow them in the roam, and which is appropriate if you're going up against Xerath. Xerath's usually just kind of ulting in, but the second way is to actually just outright win the lane, so every time they roam, they lose a wave, they lose place, they lose gold, they lose everything, right? That is the other way to do it. And Neckington Jr. has gone for the second option, and it's working out tremendously. We're going to have to watch and see if he can get a little bit more of a Claude. Not going to chase down. That's a very easy ulti to collect. Ekadar, now on the top side, will be able to close that gold difference with a kill to just about even.
Yeah, he burnt the ult in the last engage there. Really patient play to hold. And St. Young not even level 6 yet. Once St. is 6, we could see more of that. But bot side, Opex, is he going to be able to get out here?
Still had the flash up. Was able to get away. Drew the ulti out of Augustasi, and SWR and Squad are actually going to have to rotate out. So they are going to lose a wave here. So for that flash, they pay the single tax of a wave.
Yeah, so we're seeing a very varied difference in play style here between the two teams. We harp a lot on the CS because Butler is playing the CS game, the farming game, just better for the most part here. They're pushing people out, but Augustana, they're getting kills to answer this. The problem is their kills are not converting to anything else. They're not getting objectives. They're not getting CS leads. We saw the kill on that top side. Ekadar based immediately, so didn't pick up that CS here. All things besides the kill, are even bot side, mid lane as well. When we're seeing these kills come down, we're not seeing them shove, and so we're not seeing Butler miss out on an experience now. Levi is level 7, Crowstorm is available. Are they going to try and sneak in here? Can he get into the rush?
I don't think so. There was a ping that went down. I think Levi was spotted out. Agastazi and SWR were able to ping it out, say, hey, look, there is a jungler. Levi now, though, being spotted out, gonna get collapsed on, and no time to use that ulti. Best time to punish that Fiddlesticks pick is when the ult is not available. You were talking about getting kills, RMC, and getting kills to get objectives. One time that they're able to do so, that will be Butler Gray losing out on this Infernal Drake after the jungler dies.
Nice clean take. Now, we see Neckington once again still pushing that mid lane turret as hard as he possibly can. Claude building up top as well. So gold-wise, Butler still are going to be fairly okay. It's about that stacking dragon. And last time we got Hextech into Infernal. This time we're getting Infernal into Hextech here. And Augustana could not get a dragon last round. They're starting well. I want to see them continue snowballing this lead here.
They are going to maybe not have that chance shut down. Goes in, and this might be a double kill. We were talking about the power of that Vayne. The Nautilus collected one, but you know what? Whatever kills are involved, who really cares? Who picked it up? Agastazi now at 103. SWR being the carry at 2-1-2.
Agastazi only has one kill right now. Crowstorm.
Very nice hook, though. SWR able to negate most of that ulti and might be able to even turn it around. Good chunk out means that Levi will not be able to come back to try and heal up.
Okay, so right now, yeah, sure, Fiddlesticks is in range for the ult, but just not enough damage just yet. This is not the same game where Levi had incredibly far ahead lanes to play through. Still, though, Carthago.
So close. So close. And Carthago at 2-1-0 as well. That one death is going to be a challenge because now both bot laners are kind of online, right? And that's very scary to think about. Whenever you have two of these hard scaling champions, whenever you get kills, normally you're like, yeah, it's okay to trade back and forth, it's fine. That tends to kind of catapult and snowball into such things as the carries just take over, and I'm very, very curious to watch both these ADCs try and chase, but that's going to be a little bit of sun going out, but it was a bait of a bait! And so Nito was able to bait in a kill. Opex was the only one roaming around, and now you're stunned out. SWR with the roam. He's going to chase down Opex. The Q from Sonito doesn't land, but that's going to be the W. A little bit of an arcane comet is almost going to finish it off, but that will be St. Young being able to take that kill. Now we're going to see top lane. Ekadar getting the gank treatment. The rest of the team is on the way up, so they only have to bait it out, and it looks like it's going to be a turnaround. Ekadar the fight to me, but you're trapped in with me instead. Ekadar going to be taken down to about 200 HP. Follow up under the tower as Claude is able to finish this one up, but the rest of the team is here for revenge. Over the wall to go. Tonito, this is going to be Neckington Jr. coming in. One more attack will do it. A Q over the wall. They flash, and the turnaround is a turnaround of a turnaround. How many times are we going to swivel and pivot? Because now it's a turnaround of the turnaround of the turnaround. That will be another finisher as a double kill comes in for St. Young. This is a Sejuani on full blast as a flash to get the final stun and root down. Collects a shutdown to be played. As that goes on in the top side, Agastazi gets the 1v2 treatment. And in all the glory, Augustana come away with the kill lead 11-4 at 13 minutes.
Despite all that, Orbital, you know what? They're only up 300 gold for Augustana here. All those kills going in their favor. They're up 7 kills, and they're still not up significant gold. But keep in mind, the players can't see that. All they see is the kill score, the CS score right now. So, Butler, I think at this point, you kind of got to acknowledge that, hey, it's not working. Let's sit back and skill up here. No more aggressive moves. Levi?
Levi not enjoying this one. And again, Levi, the main reason you're playing this is to get ahead in the early game and try and put your pressure down. But now the turnaround is going to be made. It's a game of turnarounds. This is a 1-for-1 trade. In comes the Red Arcane Claude. He's going to try and dance out of that one. Look who's over the wall, though. Neckington Jr. is going to take the head of Urgot. That is going to be a 1v2 fight back as Butler Gray say, hey, look, you might have won that top lane fight, but this here is our jungle.
I think that's the first win we've seen from Butler here in the last 5 minutes. And sure enough, since they do that, they're going for Herald Finito. Are they going to look to dive this? Surely not.
I doesn't look like they want to go any further. No empowered Q is going to go up, but this is the true dive as SWR swings a little bit to the right, but the follow-up under the tower is going to be good. Heal comes into play as well, and the dive is finished. Vayne picking up a second, and that is a very dangerous thing to have. Unfortunately, you do lose your life, but you're still happy. You still get the kill. Shut down, though, to Levi the Ghost Pocket.
I'm not quite sure if I could really consider that a win for the Vayne here, because, yeah, you got the kill as the Vayne, but, you know, giving that over to Levi, you know, potential shutdown as well, you don't get to pick up the CS, you don't get to pick up the turrets either. A little unfortunate, but still, Vayne is that big carry we're talking about for Augustana, right? Late game, Vayne is the hardest carry in this game, even more so than that Jinx here. So, Augustana, I like the pressure they're putting down bot. I like to see more of it here. We've seen a lot of action happen around that top side. Didn't pan out. Now, Herald and Dragon are both up. Butler already started the Herald here. Augustana, though, don't have vision. Actually, they do have a vision. They've got a pink that just got dropped here. They know it. So, bot side, you've got the pressure. Let's see Augustana go for this.
They might try. It's a little bit slow on the rotate, and SWR now spotting out Opax, saying, okay, maybe it's not the right time to go just yet. It's going to be a challenge over the wall, though, as everyone is dancing here. It's a 3-on-3 so far. Teleports are up for only one member, Claude, and even Claude's running down, so that's going to be all 5 members ready to go for Butler Gray. It is only a Mountain Dragon, so Augustana might not want to challenge too hard. With the Rift Herald being dropped, though, it's a whole other beast to deal with.
Yeah, and they're holding multiple members here from the side of Augustana. They don't have a turret either.
That is something they were not expecting. The unexpected opening grants a kill to Claude, who is now 4-2-1. Dragon started up in the meantime, so that should go to the side of Augustana. They do collect on one, but now the chase is afoot. Huge poke on the back lane as Agasazi is going to try and do their best. A sniper the wall means a shutdown to the Sejuani once again, but the Jinx Carthago wants to play one more. A rocket to the face means that they get a little bit over aggressive. Opax tries to finish off SWR, but no hard carries are ready to go. And Opax is going to do the best impression of Footloose as they collect only a few. It's a 1-for-2 in favor, but it's not done yet. A huge channel heals Levi a bit more, but just not enough damage behind that ulti, so they can't get anything else. And the Augustana Vikings are able to get away with 2 kills, 1 death, and a dragon to their name.
That was getting away with murder. I did not think they were going to get away with only losing 1 off that, especially when Carthago got excited. But SWR, the captain for Augustana, just see from their beautiful dredge line. If you didn't kill Jinx right there, Jinx just gets reset, she gets kills, she pops off, she wipes all of you up. But it stays dead even. And because Augustana got the dragon there, worth that particular fight. They did unfortunately end up losing 1 end turret for that particular dragon trade, though. So for Butler here, you can afford to kill the first 2 dragons, especially when it's hex stack and you can stack those. You just have to be very, very careful about this. If Augustana gets soul point, then things get very risky, because Butler will have to start fighting into them whether they are ready or not. And we've seen Augustana really good at hiding back in these choke points.
They are going to be very, very happy to give that a go. Augustana, like I said, want the choke points, but here out in the open, when one person is alone, it's a very dangerous moment to be had. Neckington Jr. now with an item and a half in, is just starting to be able to draw out 1-3-3 with the 30 CS lead. You don't have too much to say for it just yet. Those shock blasts, those empowered shock blasts won't be hitting hard just yet, but about 5 minutes they should. What you should be worried about is Carthago. That is the Kraken Slayer in hand, and a lot of damage to boot. SWR, you better be thanking your lucky stars that that hook didn't land.
Yeah. You're talking about Carthago. I'm looking at Augustasi right now. This Vayne is starting to chunk on every single member, even Claude, who is supposed to be that big hyper tank for Butler here. So definitely both these AD carries getting really starting to get up there. And I'd actually argue Neckington has already hit the power spike with the Mirror Mana here.
That's what they want, but unfortunately the Karma did go back, and so Fear Beyond Death. Netsum won, but the rocket from downtown is able to help get that assist. Levi now trying to flash out, get out to safety, but you don't get it. Carthago has multiple low health targets, but no front line to help out. Ekadar is going to try and run down. In comes Opax, and now the turnaround is
The
made.
resets?
Oh, it's all about overextension and finding those opportunities. SWR, the dance, what are you doing? There's the double kill. We were looking for it. St. Young trying to chase away. One more tether should do it. As a Q, empowered, of course, is not going to finish it. St. Young, the boar with the plan, is going to get away with a sliver of HP.
I'm losing my mind here, Orbital. The amount of narrow escapes we're seeing here. They're just barely escaping with slivers of health. And this is when we're starting to see that Xerath difference come through, right? The fact that Xerath could just contribute to the fight with a quick out from downtown. Gets an outer turret here. Unfortunately, it's answered by that inner turret, which Butler had already set up beforehand. So once again, trade for trade coming through. And Orbital's a lot closer here. Despite the goal difference, despite the kill differences, I don't think either team really has a big lead right now. It's coming down to just who kind of gets picked and who executes in these fights, or more importantly, which AD carry gets executed in these fights.
Agreed. It's all about who kills the carries first, and even though the gold is 2.7k difference, that is miles better than game number 1, right? At this point, we are looking at game end. We are looking at game over. The inhibitor towers have not been cracked yet, so Augustana Vikings should have a nice boost of confidence. They should be quite happy about where they're currently standing, but they're not happy about where SWR got himself stuck at. That'll be a flash out, and that's something that you don't want to lose with an objective coming up on the map. Dragon in under a minute, and you just lost one of your best initiators. Initiating tools, not initiator.
Still there, I mean, the depth charge is still up. Flash on the Nautilus isn't that bad to lose because he's got so many ways of engaging here. It's more just you don't have a get out of jail free card. So if SWR goes in, he's in it for the long haul. It's a one-way trip here. And we're starting to see the poke starting to come through from both of these teams. Despite the Xerath being there for Augustana, Butler have other forms of poke as well. The Karma is strong poke. Even Jinx has poke here. And these briefcases, the cleavers from Claude, they're zoning out the entirety of Augustana here.
They are, and that is not what's normally expected of a team that's currently 18-12. That's not something that you always want to see, but at the same time, it's understandable. Look at where 7 of those 18 are currently located.
True. On to St. Young, and as much as St. Young has been a huge force for the team, and you could argue that he has been the carry through this early game, Sejuani is not a carry. So as good as St. Young is, there's only so much you can do here, and staying alive is massive, but killing the enemy team is how you win fights.
And for that, you need to get a few more on Augustasi, Tonito, and Ekadar. Main thing is the setup. Ekadar has had all 3 kills come from that ulti, from executions on the lower end, and it looks like they might have a chance here without Ekadar on the top side. Augustasi wants to bring a little bit more, but look at the chunk! Look at that burst, Neckington. We said that was going to be a danger, and it looks like they're going to get away for free for this as well. No, they're going to turn it. SWR is just going to try and take a chance. It was a sacrifice to draw one back, but in the meantime, Baron is being started up. Opax running the operation of interference. But the word over the wall is going to give away to the Smite fight. Who is going to teleport in? It's going to be a teleport of Claude, and that might be enough time. A good root, a good fall through. Over the wall they go, but it's still smited perfectly. Levi is going to secure that one. Now the fight is breaking out. Guess Carthago is going to melt through that tank. Now the chase is on for the Xerath, who tried to fight their way in, but Ekadar is going to fall. Opax is going to help that one out, and Tonito gets the heck out of dodge.
It's seemingly out of nowhere here. Butler have broken that equilibrium we were seeing. Things were so close, and it's off that bot side play. The fact that they could just turn on Augustasi is massive now. Levi wanting the Crow Storm here.
And gets it. The first time we see the initiation from Levi is to help break the base. 2-man ulti straight into clearing out the minions will give Butler Gray a tower and inhibitor at 23.5 minutes.
This is why Butler Gray is #1 seed coming out of the Emergence Navy division. They are just so good and know what they need to do to win. And I want to highlight that Crow Storm going in as well, because Levi didn't even have to use the Zonias on that play. Claude actually started up the tank first, walked in there, threw a briefcase, took the turret aggro, which allowed Levi to channel the full Crow Storm without worrying about just dying from turret damage there. It's these small things, but it's what's giving Butler such big advantages coming out of these fights, and that was just off the first push for Baron. They still have Baron for a minute and a half here.
And that's so scary. They can still push for a little bit longer. And so, in the wake of this new development here, I want to ask you, RMC, where do Augustana Vikings go from here? They've been winning the fights up till now. They've been proactive, and is this the chance? Is this where they want to go? Neckington now realizing that he's kind of stuck in a hard place. That'll be dodge out on the ulti to finish it off, so at least the dance is met for a 1-for-1. Opax trying to help out, and now going to lose their own life, and that leads into a depth charge to catch out Carthago. You have no flash, you have nothing. We just wanted to talk a bit about what to expect, but they bring the unexpected. It's a bait into another table turn as Butler Gray are routed here on the bot lane. But take a look at the mid lane. That is going to be the Fiddlesticks trying to push, a Fiddlesticks trying to split push as Claude is going to chase 3 away. It's met with the top side Vayne. So it's a 3v2 fight, but Claude says we're not done yet. Look at the flash over the wall as Butler Gray say we ain't done. Levi thinking about going over the wall, but I mean, is that really necessary?
No, but it certainly sends a message. Which is Claude Van don't give a damn right now. He's just going to go hunting 1v3 over the wall as well here. And yeah, sure, it didn't net anything, but it did push them back. And Baron's, Dragon, pardon me, is coming up in about a minute as well. So Butler are going to secure priority over that objective. And Obril, you're asking me, what do Butler need to close out the game right now? They just need to group up and play this front to back. You already seen the strength of Carthago there. And Levi's Crow Storm, we've only seen it once or twice so far, but it's had massive effect. So just group up, play it safe. Let Claude tank everything up for the team. But if you keep splitting, that's a problem. Even now, is Dragon spawning? Neckington is not with the team here. It's a little bit split. Claude is still diving in alone. And once again, Opax getting cut out.
Opax is caught, but yeah, at least had the Fiddlesticks. But look how quickly Fiddlesticks is dying. That's going to be a challenge. The rest of the team breaking in, though. And they're ready to help out. You said you wanted a front to back. It looks like they might have found it. Unempowered Shock Blast finds Tonito with the Serelda slow. It means the death of the Xerath. It leaves Ekadar and Agastasi alive. But what more can they do with the Vayne running back with 50% HP? Claude says, I don't care about the tower. I care about Ekadar's life. I want revenge for that level 2 death. Give me a sec. Let me bring it to you. Butler Gray are going to look to smash through to match point here in commanding fashion. 26-27 minutes. They will take game number 2 and move to 2-0 on the series.
Well, Orbital, this one's looking kind of rough for Augustana, and I guess you called it right when you said, you know, Augustana could afford to lose one more. They could before, they can't now. Their backs are right up against that wall. And in this game, too, we did see quite a few good things from Augustana. They're laning, they're still struggling in the 1v1s to 2v2s, but I really liked St. Young getting those ganks off on the Sejuani. I guess it is still viable. It's not that J4, it's not that Lee Sin, but it still works kind of well. The issue really does feel, though, that Butler is just looking really good at pushing their leads. Butler falls behind, and when they were falling behind, sure, they didn't look good. But the moment they get kills, especially as the game goes on, they always just seem to get kill plus 1 extra. They're just better at finding these deals here in these games, and that's what's getting them these leads. And the problem is, you know, first game, 21 minutes. Second game, we're looking closer to about, 25 minutes, and it just feels like the later it goes, the bigger their extras get, the deals that they get are. They get kills early on, they get maybe a dragon. They get kills, maybe they get plates. Come the mid game, they get kills, they get soul point, And by late game, they get kills, they get Baron, they get kills, they get Nexus.
It's all about that coupon clipping on Deal Savers. It is a perfect play for the side of Butler Gray, able to find just a little bit more than their opponents, and honestly, it's getting down to that early game because we saw for the first time Augustana run the early game show. That is the important thing to take a look at. So going into game 3, we'll see if Augustana can now capitalize on that fact. Will we see them roll into the mid game with a strong dominating factor, or Butler Gray go ahead and look to close the books here on this series? Don't go anywhere. NECC will be right back in just a few. they're idiots, they're idiots. And we are live here. Welcome back, everyone. We are ready to go for game number 3, and the teams are raring to go as well. We are cruising into this draft phase as games number 1 and 2 has started to look closer and closer. Game 2, of course, early game was ruled by Augustana with some of those team fights. Later on, it was a little bit of a change-up. So now, will Butler be able to break out the 3-0, or will Augustana complete the steps to their extended form?
The extended form. No, let's go big or go home. The question is, do you believe in the Augustana reverse sweep?
Yes, I will say it. I will go all in on this because game 2 was an absolute thrill to cast. That is what I'll say.
Okay, you're in on your own. I am not terribly hopeful right now for the reverse sweep here, but I am hopeful that the series will extend here, and that's because Augustana has shown some, like you said, pretty strong early to mid-game showings in that last game here, and already we're seeing the drop come through here. The first round of bans from Augustana really targeting Butler Claude in that top lane there because he has been an issue, and the fact that they forced him onto the Ornn is a good sign. The fact that they counterpicked with the Mordekaiser, a little less so.
Yeah, this is we've seen this happen a few times, right? And that was also in game number 2 where we saw the Vayne kind of pick into a lot of these compositions where it felt kind of unnecessary, and it feels like Augustana are willing to do that in trading in for comfort and taking that comfort factor over the counter pick. And that is something I will say I respect, right? A team that is willing to grant favor to comfort values. The problem is sometimes just champion differences do come into play. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on that top lane, see how it plays out. The rest of the lanes, though, very heavy changeup for the side of Augustana. We see a J4 Galio in Misfortunes. This is a 3-piece major wombo combo that we got to see early on in the draft phase.
Yeah, and for Augustana, it's not really a surprise that we're seeing big changes, because if you've lost the games, then, well, you make big changes, especially when your back is up against the wall here. You're desperate. Change it up. And I like their changes here. Sure, I have questions about the Mordekaiser, but I have very little questions about everything else, right? We sit before St. Young on these early gankers has looked the best during the regular season. So I love seeing the J4 come back in. Most played jungler here for St. Young throughout this NECC spring split here. Misfortunados as well. Really strong, aggressive early lane. And more importantly, combined with that Cataclysm, has the potential to be very strong. Galio on top of it for even more side lane benefit. Absolutely love it in isolation. The problem once again is that Butler, first of all, Butler didn't even need to change their draft up too much, and the response is still really good. Cataclysm comes down, and the question is, who are you catching? Butler Claude can break it with the Searing Charge, will be able to get out. Butler Opax is the only other person who's going to get caught. Levi, Neckington, and Carthago can all just hop right out of that Cataclysm, hop right out of that zone for that hero's entrance for Galio here. So it feels like Butler, once again, sitting comfortable with their composition in terms of having answers to what Augustana want to do.
And the crazy thing is, I want to point this out, it wasn't even that Butler were counter-picking it and getting these champions. They opted for the Corki Ezreal very early on. It was something that they drafted before even seeing, I believe, seeing the Misfortune in the follow-up, right? They saw the J4 and Nullis, and I understand that you do pick the Corki Ezreal, but it was Augustana that actually had to double down, and that's the roughest thing that I want that we have to see. Butler, they're playing the same style. Augustana said, "Crap, we kind of forgot about this." Well, we don't want to break the composition, and they're going all in. We have seen what they can do with proactivity, though. The relentless pursuit of this aggression has netted them some value, and we saw that in game number 2.
Yeah, and despite the fact that compositionally, I think Augustana might have gone a little bit outdrafted in terms of answers or tools, I do think that they've got a very strong set piece, and if you can stack those early dragons especially, their composition is really going to come online in the mid game here, you know, about that 15 to 20, 25 minute mark. And if you're stacking dragons right from the get-go, that is when you'll be fighting for soul. So Augustana sure, you don't have a lot of good ways to catch the Corki and Ezreal, but at the same time, if you're accelerated, if you're stacking there at 20-25 minutes, they don't have a lot of good ways to fight into you either. You're strong. So if you set up at the objective first, the Ezreal and Corki aren't going to want to pick that particular fight. You can take those objectives. And if you've got a soul, especially if it's something like Infernal or Hex Tech here, then suddenly it gets a lot harder for the Corki Ezreal to get alive. Hex Tech Soul, especially with that Chain Lightning slow, will punish these sort of mobile champions.
Because of that, and what you called in the souls that you want to see, we are now going to get Cloud Dragon and Cloud Soul only. That is what we will see from here on out. All eyes, though, are taking a look at Augustana, not just in the compositional value, but also in the mental, because we are now to Game 3 and match point. As much as their composition has been built, we have to take into account their mental state. And after games 1 and 2, I'm curious, do you feel, RMC, that they have the mental resilience to bounce back and to be able to attempt this resistance sweep? We heard it earlier. That the chances might not be there, but we're talking about their mental, these players being able to sit down and say, start over clean, let's run it from here.
You know what, for Augustana, I believe they have the mental. But when I spoke to Joe, the manager or coach there for them, he had mentioned that the team as a whole has been working on their communications and controlling emotion. For better or for worse, when you're ahead, not getting too hyped. When you're behind, making sure that you don't fall down. And they've been working on that all split. Granted, it is the grand finals. The stakes are higher here, but I believe that they can do that. And if we look at their game 2 play as well, they bounced amazingly well back from that rough game 1. 21-minute stomp in game 1, and they came back game 2 and were winning the early game. I believe Augustana can do it again. The bigger question to me is for Butler, do you get a little overconfident here, right, after your 2 wins? If you do, there's a chance for Augustana to bite back, but if you don't, that's when it's going to be really, really scary. Because if Butler don't make mistakes, they can just scale up and just wait till the late game and outrange.
And to take a look at that, I mean, talking about the possible overaggression that can come out and the possible slip-ups here, because honestly, that is what we're most likely going to see, where that swing goes back in Augustana's favor. Where do we see it happen? Because game 2, it came out with a draft from Butler Gray that was a little bit offhand, but their individual skill was able to push forward. And it seems that Augustana have identified top lane as that weakness. Do you actually think that top lane is going to be that weakness? If there is going to be a link that does fail for Butler Gray, where is it going to be located at?
Potentially the top lane. I mean, the fact that they gave the counter pick to Ekadar here makes me think that they believe that they continue to believe that that is the lane that they can look to pressure here. And we've seen Butler Claude on carries, on lane bullies. Ornn is still a bit of a lane bully, but he's also mostly attack. So there is an opportunity there for Augustana. I'd actually like Augustana, though, to play their set piece, right? You've drafted a 4-man wombo combo here. That's really where I'm looking to gauge how good are you at actually executing is in those mid-game team fights.
And this is a problem. Again, both squads, they want to get some action down. SWR leading the charge. This is going to be a brutal knockup. Here they go. Fight breaks out, and immediately first blood to Butler. They're going to go ahead and lose one of their own, though. They're going to try and follow through. Flash him. Claude is going to lead him on a merry chase because the range is there. Ekadar with the AoE does nothing more than tickle everyone. St. Young is going to try and sprint away, and Misfortune lives to tell another tale. 3 and 2 is all that's left, with 2 kills headed to Carthago's pocket.
I'm worried, Orbital, because you asked me about mentals for Augustana. The fact they went for the invade, to me, that's good mental. The fact they lost the invade, that's where mental went right now. And like you pointed out, 2-1 for Carthago here, and I believe First Blood as well went over. And look at where the other kill went to. Off-axe here. So this bot lane, this punishing, poke-heavy bot lane that we saw dominate game 1, now off to an epic start here in game 3, pardon me. And for Augustana, the one saving grace is that their kill went over to Ekadar in that top lane here. And if there is a lane you're saying, might be able to carry on their own, it is this Mordekaiser here.
Might be the Mordekaiser, so far losing a little bit, but now trading it right back. Went from 60% and 80% to 50-50 across both boards. So felt kind of nice for Ekadar to be able to trade out in that value. And it's also because no one really has any flashes. Surprisingly enough, on the side of Ekadar, they burned just about everything. Tonito and Neckington Jr. are actually the only 2 that have full summoners available. Bot lane, we see a little bit of distance as well, as Opax currently has flash, and SWR has that exhaust. Here we go in the top side, though. It's a level 2 exchange, and it looks like Ekadar might be able to get it. The Q comes down. Cool down OP. Ekadar able to move from 1-1-1 to 2-1-1.
Well played from Augustana. They're rewarding the faith, the belief in Ekadar on this counter pick, and with that early kill as well to be able to pull that out. And Butler Claude, I mean, a little bit risky. If that was the Kled, sure, maybe you win that trade, but Ornn just doesn't have that same sort of sustained damage here. SWR trying to posture aggressively here, and Opax and Carthago actually have to be really careful. Their minion wave is about to die.
And it is going to go down, but that was a hook
Tonito?
out. SWR, look who's
Predator.
coming around the corner. Tonito wants to get in range. That'll be a challenge.
No!
Oh! Clips the wall, and that's an unfortunate one. Still, though, you do send a little bit of a message down to the bot lane.
The Zoe emote as well. I love it. Levi actually
Oh, wait.
stealing away the scuttle. Saint has
That
no
hurts.
flash.
There's no flash either. This is going to be a hard chase. That'll be a package in, and St. Young, this is the unfortunate repercussions of your early game invade. It feels so bad. And St. Young grants double buffs over in 2 double buff sets, charging in on Tonito.
On one hand, Tonito is going to be very unhappy that he now has to lane his double buffs, but on the other hand, yes, it's partially from the level 1 invade that St. Young had no flash, but it's also because of the roam down from Tonito with those early boots that you didn't have that mid pressure, and you therefore lost the scuttle, you lost your life as well. Now SWR getting 3-man?
2.5. 2.5. A little bit over the wall as Opax was able to provide cover support. It wasn't enough, though, as SWR is able to get under towered, but it does force a very early recall out. So SWR might not get to pick up as much as they want. Is going to try. It looked like it was a grab of the boots, or the refillable pots, actually, is what I saw picked up. Claude on the top side, though, starting to realize that this is a bit more dicey than they would have liked, as now the CS lead is actually in Ekadar's favor, even though it's very, very small.
Yeah, but it's significant, Orbital, because in every game before this, it has been Butler coming out with early leads in every single lane, whereas this time, they're pretty much dead even in Ekadar. This CS lead, I expect to expand as the game goes on. Claude actually can't roll into this.
Looking like the bot lane, though, is able to. However, that's the turnaround, and that's the power of Carthago and Opax taking advantage of Augustazi's no flash.
This isn't even the power spike for the Ezreal. Yeah, sure, you've got the extra longsword from that level 1 here, but this is just comfort for Karma Ezreal. Now, both junglers on that top side here. I don't think either side knows that either jungler is here.
And this is the challenge. St. Young wants that power. That's the dive in they go. Welcome to the Rumble Pit 2v2. And the HP bars are drastically in favor of Augustana. That'll be the finish, but Ekadar gets out before the second tower shot and is allowed to live. Well fought in the 2v2 top side. Grants a kill and boon to Augustana.
For Butler right now, your top side is done. Don't throw any more ganks up there. Ekadar is about to hit level 6, and when Mordekaiser hits 6, it becomes a series of 1v1s. They just won the 2v2. Leave Claude to his own devices here. He's an Ornn. He will scale up, start going to other lanes. And for St. Young, getting all these assists certainly is helping him keep up with Levi here. And Ekadar needs to be a saving grace for this team, because that Death Realm right now, sure, Ezreal's very far ahead, but in the 1v1, Mordekaiser should still manhandle.
Always looking for those 1v1s, so as you said, try not to give too much pressure back over to that top side. Claude, good luck, buddy. You're on your own. We'll see you in about 20 minutes when you can start actually giving people items and become a champion that way. Most eyes, though, on that bot side, as Carthago is probably going to look to get a little bit of help as well from Levi. Not like he needs it, but you're probably going to gank that side and just try and force your advantages, especially with an Infernal now down on the map. Dragon number 1 and just spawned for a minute 45 so far.
Well, you say that, in 20 minutes, Claude can become a champion, but I feel like in 20 minutes, you just become shopkeeper, right? He basically borrows his cousin.
The mobile shopkeeper.